It was a quiet morning, the kind where the world feels like it's still stretching awake. I was brushing my teeth when the water coughed, sputtered, and turned a sickly shade of gray, like dishwater left to fester. The smell hit next, not sulfur, not chlorine, but something rancid like death had crawled into the pipes. I gagged, spat into the sink, and stared at the drain, my stomach churning. Then the mail came, and with it, a water bill 3 times higher than usual. Something was wrong, and it wasn't just bad plumbing. I live on the edge of town, where the county line kisses open fields and dusty horse trails. Houses out here are spread thin, each with its own utilities. Years ago, I built my own water system, a well, double filtration, buried lines, and a backup tank for dry spells. It cost me a fortune and countless weekends, but it was mine, pure and reliable. So when that foul water hit my sink and that bill hit my mailbox, I knew this wasn't a fluke. A faint hum, like a pump working overtime, buzzed from the fence line separating my land from my neighbors. I felt it in the dirt, a VY bration that didn't belong. Her name was Linda, the self-crowned queen of an HOA I wasn't even part of. My property sat just outside their boundary, a fact she ignored like it was a personal insult. Linda was all posture and power, her weekly newsletters landing on my porch like royal decrees, always addressed to resident. Once, she scolded me for my mailbox's unacceptable shade of blue. I laughed it off, thinking she was just a busybody with too much time. But now, with my water line buried 20 feet from her shed and my pressure gauge dropping nightly, I wasn't laughing. I started watching closely. Every evening, I checked the gauge by my barn, an old rancher's trick. If the pressure dipped while everything was off, someone was stealing. For 3 nights it did. By the 4th, I'd hidden a trail camera in a fake rock, aimed at the fence. 2 days later, I had my answer. At 2:17 a.m., a figure crept across Linda's yard with a flashlight, ducked behind her shed, and fiddled for 20 minutes. When he emerged, he carried PVC pipe and a hose splitter. I zoomed in and nearly choked on my coffee. It was her handyman, Tom, the guy who'd once tried to sell me overpriced garden lights. Linda's lush lawn, her sparkling water feature, her endless garden parties, they were all running on my water, my dime. I needed proof, the kind that would make her squirm. More cameras went up, capturing her in action, hosting brunches with sprinklers blazing, filling an inflatable pool for her grandkids, hosing down her car like she was in a commercial. I watched it all from my phone, sipping tea like it was a soap opera, except this one was bleeding me dry. I tried talking to her first, flash drive in hand, knocking on her door. She opened with that fake smile, the one she saved for people she thought she could out-talk. I said someone had tapped my line. Her eyes twitched, but she laughed, said I was mistaken, and shut the door mid-sentence. No denial, just dismissal. That told me everything. Legal options crossed my mind, cops, small claims, HOA complaints, but out here, those were long shots. Then my gaze fell on the cattle tank by the barn, crusty and half full of last season's runoff, thick with sludge. A grin crept across my face, slow and sharp. If Linda wanted my water, she'd get a taste of something else. That night, with a ranch buddy who owed me a favor, I dug up the backup line and rerouted her illegal tap to the tank. We tested it, flipped the valve, and watched brown sludge gurgle through the hose. I laughed so hard I nearly cried. The clean line was sealed off, the sludge line buried and disguised. She'd never know until she turned on her sprinkler. I waited for her next big event, a weekend brunch with her HOA cronies. Popcorn in hand, I set up a lawn chair by my window. Right on cue, at noon, a jet of sludge erupted from her garden hose, a mud geyser straight out of a cartoon. Linda shrieked, flailing into her tulips as the brown mess sprayed her porch. Guests scattered, one slipped, another puked into a planter. It was chaos, glorious chaos. Linda, in her pristine white dress, slipped in the muck, now streaked with cow residue. I leaned back, took a deep breath, and smiled. Not because she got dirty, but because she finally got it. Stealing from someone who builds for a leave-vying doesn't end with a handshake. The next morning was eerily quiet. No fake laughter, no leaf blower roaring for no reason. I sipped coffee, half expecting an HOA goon squad, but nothing came. By afternoon, Linda marched down my driveway, face redder than a sunburn, her sandals slapping the gravel like they were filing a lawsuit. She banged on my door, accusing me of contaminating the neighborhood, of biological terrorism. I let her rant, arms folded, then asked one question. Had she filed a permit to tap my private system? She froze, blinked, then claimed it was a community necessity, that I had water to spare. I showed her my footage, my property lines, my utility records. She blamed Tom, said he misunderstood her. I told her to take it up with him and shut the door. Linda didn't quit. She sent letters about shared resources, posted flyers calling me selfish, even preached to her gardening club about neighborly duties. My cameras caught her sneaking over the fence one night, slipping in the mud and landing flat on her back. I saved the clip, but held off sharing. Instead, I cited the county utilities office. A guy named Mason, a water permit veteran, chuckled at my story. Tapping a private line without a permit was a big deal. Fines, maybe worse. He handed me forms and a grin. I wasn't ready to press charges, but I wanted the option. I built a bypass system, a valve to switch between clean water and sludge in seconds. Overkill? Maybe, but I loved it. Then Linda called an emergency HOA meeting, my name bolded on the agenda. I showed up in dusty boots, carrying a folder of evidence, photos, footage, pressure logs, a map marking her tap. Linda was mid-rant, calling me a saboteur. I let her dig her hole, then handed out my proof. The room went silent. She claimed I faked it, but a retired engineer, Carl, backed me up, saying the data looked legit. Then Tom walked in, admitted Linda paid him to tap the line, and the room erupted. The board voted her out as president. She screamed about conspiracies, but no one listened. She stormed out, heels clacking like a defeated VY lane. The fallout was swift. Inspectors swarmed her property, finding an unlicensed pond fed by my water. They pumped it out, labeled samples contaminated. Linda faced fines, maybe thousands. Neighbors mocked her online with cow emojis and fertilizer jokes. Her allies went quiet. Her sprinkler system was offline, her pool drained. She tried to share his complaint, but the deputy laughed at my footage and left with a root beer. Then came a typed letter under my door, accusing me of endangering kids, demanding an apology. I laughed and filed it with my evidence. I pitched the story to a local blog, keeping names vague. It exploded. Backyard water wars. Rancher serves karma with sludge. Bigger outlets picked it up. Locals smirked at the feed store, while VYing longer as they drove by. Linda became a ghost, her house dark, her lawn yellowing. Then a MOVYing truck appeared. She paced as movers loaded boxes, her hair a mess, a realtor sign staked in the yard. By evening, she was gone, Leah VYing silence and a lighter neighborhood. Kids rode bikes again, HOA meetings stuck to the point, and neighbors shared pies instead of gossip. I planted an oak near the old tap, a quiet reminder of standing firm. A sign went up by the valve, private line. Tamper once, shame on you. Tamper twice, enjoy the sludge. The new neighbors, a young couple, nodded respectfully. They asked about rainwater harvesting, real neighborly stuff. A month later, a news crew filmed a segment at my place. It aired, and comments flooded in, play stupid games when cattle sludge. The story became a legend, a warning not to mess with someone's land. I saw Linda once more at a gas station, her hair dull, sunglasses hiding her eyes. We locked gazes. She looked away. I nodded and moved on. The neighborhood healed. The HOA added compost bins, fixed sidewalks, passed bylaws to prevent another Linda. I sat on my porch, coffee in hand, watching my sprinklers hum with clean water I'd earned. Birds chirped, cattle grazed, and the breeze whispered peace. Justice didn't come from a courtroom. It came from a hose. So what do you think? Was I too harsh? Or did Linda deserve every drop of that sludge? Should I have gone to court instead? Or was this rural karma the better call? And what would you do if someone stole from you? Fight fair or get creative? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're Team Sludge, and subscribe for more stories where entitlement meets its match.